Welcome back to the Science of Peace. Today we are going to talk about the ego and the analytical mind, and I will be reading a little bit from Are The Placebo by Dr. Joe Dispenza. Please join me on my other Science of Peace YouTube classes. The link is in the bio. This is for all of my quantum physics, neuroscience, geek junkies that are into like the law of attraction, the law of vibration, abundance, manifestation, and healing thyself, and those who are on the journey of knowledge of self. So, I wanted to talk about the ego and analytical mind because I learned something new when I was reading this book. I've learned so much by reading this book, and it's just helped me to really like understand who I am and to understand our natural gifts and natural powers and the magic that resides within us. So normally when I hear about the ego, it's usually in reference to something negative, as far as like someone saying, oh, she has a big ego, or he has a big ego, etc., etc. So to understand it in a different perspective just allows me, and I think it will allow you to really like get a better grasp on how to use it for your benefit. Because it is for your benefit. It can be used for your benefit, but it can also be used, against you if you're not knowing. So, the analytical mind, right? We know what the analytical mind is. For those who don't, the analytical mind, in brief summary, would basically be like, that's what allows you to make decisions. It allows you to learn new things. It allows you to scrutinize whether to believe in something. It allows you to judge social situations based on your own ethics. And it allows you to get a clear picture on the purpose of life, and to also be able to discern morality with conviction, and to evaluate important sensory data. So to sum it up, your analytical mind analyzes, takes information, sifts through it, and decides whether your body is going to receive it or not. It's okay. So that's your analytical mind. It's good. It's a good thing. We need it. The analytical mind, which I didn't know, is an extension of your ego. So, and also what I didn't know is that your ego is actually here to protect you. Like your ego is like the mother of the house. Your ego is designed to protect you at all costs, and it doesn't matter if it doesn't matter what it is. It's gonna protect you. Like that's its job. So it could either be used for your own benefit, or it could be used for detriment. And this is how, because your analytical mind, which is the extension of the ego. The best way that it works for you is when you are relaxed, when you're comfortable, and when you're focused and you're calm. Okay? So when you're calm and you're relaxed and you're focused, that is when your analytical mind is at its best. It does its best work. Okay? So when mom, like the mother, is calm, relaxed, and focused, that's when she does her best work. And when I say mother, I'm referring to the analytical mind, like the ego, because the ego is there to protect you. So, the issue comes in when you are under stress, okay? Now, some people, when they hear the word stress, they might think, oh, stress, like, you're stressed out because, you can't pay your bills, or you're stressed out because there's some type of outside situation going on, external situation going on. And yes, that is a form of stress. And it could be, and like if there's a threat in your environment that, you come across the path of a bear, you come across the path of a wolf or something like that. Yeah, that's stress, okay? But there's also stress that we are exposed to on a daily basis, especially living here within the so-called United States, living here in North America with all these programs that they have running, with these fear-mongering programs that they have running, with like watching the news and the commercials with all the prescription drugs and the side effects, and then all the anti-war, anti-drugs, like all these like cancer ads and all this stuff. Then you got stress that's in the natural environment that's not natural, like from the cellular lines and 5G and all this other stuff that's going on. That is also stress as well, and some of us may not realize it because it's happening on a day-to-day basis. So the best thing for us to do is to take some time, because how you feel and just being able to receive what you're supposed to receive is of most importance. So sometimes we can get caught up in this matrix of society, and we get caught up in these programs, which is normal, which is natural, but you got to have balance. So to get your ego analytical mind at ease, so that you don't get any diseases or something like that, just take some time for yourself. And I think learning from the science of it, the best time for your mind or your brain to really get into the receptive mode and to tap into the source, tap into the God within you, is like when you first wake up, because your brain waves are running on theta. And also when you're about to go to sleep, because your brain waves are also going back to theta before it goes into delta. And those are like the prime time to really tap in and to really be still and to really like meditate, and just like get your body back in order, back in balance, and to receive whatever messages it is that you need to receive. But I want to stay focused on what I'm talking about with the ego and analytical mind. So I won't go into all of that, but the ego, the analytical mind, is like that thin veil that separates consciousness from the subconscious. Now, the subconscious is like where all the magic is. That is where, like, if you want to say God lives, you know what I'm saying? But being facetious when I say that, but I'm saying like the 90% of our brain that we don't use is the subconscious. But we've been programmed, most of us don't use. There are some of us that do. But we have been programmed, at least in this society, in this realm, to use the 10%. But that's on purpose, of course, because if you really tapped into that 90%, or you started using the 100% of your brain, you'd be way too powerful. You know what I'm saying? Uncontrollable. Like, whoo, you'd be the master creators that you were born to be. You know what I'm saying? So the analytical mind is what separates that, though. So those who overthink or overanalyze have a hard, and it makes it harder for new information to make it down into the subconscious. So it makes it harder for you to change if you're over analytical, because that little thin veil, when that information comes, it won't allow it to, because it's sifting through it, it's looking at it, and it's like, nah, we don't like it, it kicks it out. It won't make it to the subconscious. But that's where true change begins. You know what I'm saying? That's where you can really tap into your power. So when you're able to get to a calm state, get to a relaxed state, and focus, then you can allow your analytical mind to say, I don't need to be in stress mode, or this is not a situation where I feel like I am on guard and have to protect you because there's a threat, i.e. from the stressors, or even from you overthinking things, worrying, being overly anxious, anxiety. All those things are stressors for the body. So when you are like that, your analytical mind, your ego is kicked into high gear. And when that happens, that means it's basically living into that fight and flight mode, where it feels like, oh, there's a threat, outside threat, and this is the time I need to protect. So when your analytical mind is at that point where it feels like it needs to protect because it's in survival mode, it doesn't matter if the information that you're receiving is good or not. Like, it doesn't matter. It doesn't want to hear it. You know what I'm saying? Because and I'm gonna break it down here because it's a better example of how what will happen when your analytical mind is in that mode. So it's the analytical mind. It thinks and feels as though it needs to be in control to protect the identity. It tries to have power over outcomes. It predicts what it needs to do to create a certainly safe situation. It clings to the familiar and won't let go. So it holds grudges, feels pain, and suffers, or can't get beyond its victimhood. It will always avoid the unknown condition and view it as potentially dangerous because the ego, the unknown, is to not be trusted. To the ego, the unknown is to not be trusted because that is not a time. If it feels like it's protecting you and it feels like you're stressed and it feels like it's in survival mode, that's not the time, if you're in survival mode, for you to access or have time to even really absorb new information. You know what I'm saying? So like the information that you could be reading about, that you could be learning about on YouTube or whatever, could be really good information that will benefit you. But if your body is naturally under this amount of stress, guess what? The ego is kicking it out. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, this ain't the time for that. So, and I'm going to give you another example of how, like, your ego comes into play, or your analytical mind comes into play, that when it saves you. Like, for example, if you're walking down a busy street and there's cars constantly buzzing past you, boom, 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 it is your ego that says, we're walking a little bit too close to these cars. We're going to cross the street because it's safer. That is your analytical mind analyzing the information and then making a decision based on that. Okay? So it feels like there was a threat. Now it moves you out of the threat. Okay? But if you're the type of person that's always thinking negative thoughts, that's always anxious, depressed, that's always into these lower vibrations, then that means your analytical mind, your ego, is always at work and it always feels like it's in survival mode, and it makes it harder for you to really dig in, tap in, go within, and change some things that you may need to change. So some of the key points that I find is to basically start to spend time doing things that you love to do, because if you're happy, if you're laughing, if you're having fun, then that says to your ego and your analytical mind, there's no threat. You know what I'm saying? So that allows new information to come within. That allows new downloads that are waiting for you to receive them to be received. You know what I'm saying? But if it's not scientifically based, it'll block it. So that's just a key pointer that I wanted to bring up. And I just also wanted to end with this. The ego will do anything to empower itself for the rush of addictive emotions. It wants what it wants, and it will do whatever it takes to get there first. By pushing its way to the front of the line, it can be cunning, manipulative, competitive, and deceptive in its protection. And that is only when the ego feels that there is an outside threat, or if there's an internal threat from your thoughts that you're having. So let's try to, have more soothing thoughts. Do things that are more soothing and satisfying. Have a little more fun, and don't take this stuff too serious. Islam, I self-law and master, and thank you for joining me. The Science of Peace.